We are conditioned from a very young age to fear the loudest, most aggressive person in the room. We are taught to be wary of the ruthless, the people who strike first, take what they want, and leave nothing on the table. You see them everywhere. Consider the new executive who walks into an established department determined to immediately establish dominance. He micromanages the high performers, denies a few standard requests just to prove he has the authority to do so, and talks over the seasoned veterans in his very first meeting. In the short term, he wins. The room falls silent. Compliance is achieved. But by month 3, the top performers have quietly transferred to competing divisions. The veterans are selectively withholding critical institutional knowledge, and the executive is drowning in unforced errors, entirely unaware that his own team engineered his demise through the lethal application of malicious compliance. The people who try the hardest to look dangerous are almost always the first to be eliminated. They confuse temporary intimidation with actual power, and in doing so, they sign their own death warrants. If you want to survive the games humans play, the quiet manipulations at dinner tables, the power struggles in corporate hierarchies, and the silent wars fought inside romantic relationships. You have to unlearn every beautiful lie you have ever been told about what it means to be ruthless. You have been sold a Hollywood fantasy of power that only works on television. In the real world, aggression is loud, expensive, and structurally fragile. To understand why the aggressive player always loses the long game, you must first understand the invisible psychological cage that traps 99% of the population. It starts with a very basic, very human fear, the visceral terror of being the sucker. There is a specific, agonizing sting to being played for a fool. It is a psychological injury that bypasses the rational ego and strikes directly at our evolutionary hardware. To extend trust to someone and be exploited in return feels like a violation of the highest order. Because of this, the average person begins to construct emotional and strategic armor. They tell themselves that the world is inherently treacherous. They decide that the only way to avoid being the victim is to beat the other person to the punch. They stop trusting. They stop sharing. They defect first. Game theorists have a precise term for the environment this creates. It is called the Nash trap, named after the mathematician John Nash. It describes a scenario where two rational players, operating with perfect defensive logic, lock themselves into the worst possible outcome simply because they are too terrified of being exploited by the other. The trap is not built out of stupidity. It is built out of intelligence that has been paralyzed by paranoia. Look at a relationship that has slowly gone cold. Picture a couple who have not had a genuinely honest, unguarded conversation in 4 years. The last time one of them exposed a vulnerability, it was weaponized during an argument. The last time the other asked for emotional support, they were met with a dismissive sigh. So, they both adapt. They learn the rules of their specific game. They both choose to withhold. They run the calculus and decide that a slow, daily emotional starvation is mathematically safer than the catastrophic risk of reaching out and having their hand slapped away again. They defect. They are both profoundly miserable. They both know the other is miserable. But neither will break the silence or offer a genuine apology because the one who cooperates first surrenders their leverage. They are intelligent people, rationally managing their risk and slowly suffocating to death in a prison of their own design. This exact same architecture dictates why businesses fail, why friendships dissolve, and why families fracture over inheritance disputes. Imagine two rival departments within a mid-sized company. If the marketing team shares their consumer data, the sales team might use it to steal the credit for the quarterly revenue bump. If the sales team shares their lead list, the marketing team might use it to justify a larger slice of next year's budget. The rational, defensive move for both managers is to hoard their assets. They smile in the executive meetings, they use the language of synergy, but they keep their databases locked. The company as a whole bleeds revenue and loses market share, but the individual managers feel entirely secure in their respective silos. They have successfully protected themselves from being exploited by their colleagues, and as a reward, they will both be unemployed when the company eventually files for bankruptcy. This is the grand tragedy of the cynic. The cynic believes they have hacked the game of human nature by assuming the worst in everyone. They operate on the assumption that everyone is fundamentally selfish, so they must strike first, trust nothing, and never leave themselves exposed. They view this chronic paranoia as sophistication, but what they are actually doing is systematically destroying the compound interest of human cooperation. When you open every interaction as if it is a hostile negotiation, you force the other person to become hostile just to survive you. You do not discover that the world is a cold and treacherous place. You actively manufacture it. You create the exact monsters you are so terrified of fighting. Most people live and die inside this trap. They think their narcissism is a shield, but it is actually a straitjacket. They think they are playing the game, but the game is playing them. They are so fixated on not losing the current interaction that they forfeit the entire tournament. And yet, this trap is not inescapable. There is a mathematical key to picking the lock on the Nash trap. It is a precise behavioral sequence that collapses the defensive equilibrium entirely. But this sequence was not discovered by a military general, a Machiavellian politician, or a ruthless CEO. It was discovered by a quiet string of computer code in a university basement over 40 years ago, and it changes everything about how power actually works. The mathematical key to picking the lock on human paranoia was unearthed 40 years ago, and it did not come from a Machiavellian politician or a ruthless corporate raider. It came from a quiet political scientist who decided to map the exact DNA of survival. In 1980, he mailed invitations to the most brilliant minds on the planet. He asked economists, game theorists, mathematicians, and military strategists to submit computer programs to compete in a digital tournament. The game was a simple simulation of human interaction where players could either cooperate or betray each other, repeated hundreds of times. These certified geniuses looked at the board, analyzed the mechanics of power, and built digital monsters. They submitted elaborate, predatory algorithms engineered to deceive, exploit, and bleed their opponents dry. They coded pure paranoia. They coded the Hollywood fantasy of ruthlessness. When the simulated blood cleared and the final scores were tallied, the academic world was completely paralyzed by the results. The strategies at the very bottom of the leaderboard were the apex predators. The complex codes designed to manipulate and strike first had utterly destroyed each other. The program that won the entire tournament, annihilating the most sophisticated tactical architectures of the 20th century, was just 4 lines long. It was submitted by a mathematical psychologist, and he called it tit for tat. It was so insultingly simple that most of the aggressive players thought it was a joke, but this tiny, unassuming piece of code possessed an operational elegance that made it an absolute butcher on the digital battlefield. Let us dismantle exactly why this program dismantled everyone else. because its entire operating system rested on 4 unyielding laws of engagement that you can apply to every conversation you have tomorrow. The program's foundational protocol was that it never, under any circumstance, drew blood first. It opened every single interaction with a handshake. It defaulted to cooperation. To the paranoid players, this looked like naive vulnerability. They assumed they were looking at a sheep. But the program was not behaving nicely out of a sense of moral obligation or sentimentality. It opened with cooperation because it understood that striking first immediately triggers the defensive Nash trap we just discussed, locking both players into a downward spiral of mutual destruction. It chose peace as a surgical opening move. However, the illusion of vulnerability evaporated the millisecond the other player attempted to exploit that peace. The program's second protocol was instantaneous, emotionless retaliation. If an opponent defected and tried to take advantage of the opening handshake, the program immediately mirrored the betrayal on the very next move. It did not offer a warning. It did not give the opponent the benefit of the doubt. It did not try to negotiate or understand why the other side was acting out. It simply struck back with exact proportional force. This is where most people fail in the real world. They confuse being nice with being defenseless. They absorb insults and boundary violations, telling themselves they are being the bigger person, while quietly training their abusers to keep using them. The winning code never absorbed a blow, it reflected it perfectly. Yet, retaliation without a governor is just a different kind of trap, which is why the program's third protocol was perhaps its most brilliant. The instant the opponent surrendered and returned to cooperation, the program dropped the grudge entirely. It forgave immediately. It did not demand an apology. It did not bring up the past betrayal 3 rounds later to score a petty emotional point. It returned to baseline cooperation the moment the threat was neutralized. The human ego hates this. The ego wants to punish, to drag things out, to make the other person suffer for their transgression. But the ego is expensive, and holding a grudge is just a tax you pay on your own future leverage. By forgiving instantly, the program offered its enemies a clear, frictionless path back to profitable cooperation. It made peace easy and war exhausting. The final piece of the architecture was absolute, terrifying transparency. The program was entirely predictable. It did not play mind games. It did not employ sudden, erratic shifts in behavior just to keep people guessing. Its opponents learned very quickly exactly what it was. They realized that trying to exploit it guaranteed immediate pain, while cooperating with it guaranteed steady profit. In a chaotic environment filled with deceptive predators, clarity is deeply intimidating. The other programs adapted to it because they had no other rational choice. By being a mirror, the 4-line code forced the rest of the tournament to play by its rules. It trained the monsters to behave. Look at the people in your life who are currently losing. Look at the ones whose relationships are rotting, whose careers are stalled, whose reputations are quietly decaying behind their backs. Every single one of them is violating the architecture of this code. You know people who are endlessly cooperative, but incapable of retaliation. They are the office martyrs who swallow every slight until they burn out. You know people who are highly retaliatory, but entirely incapable of forgiveness. They collect grievances like trophies and slowly isolate themselves in a fortress of bitterness. You know people who are wildly unpredictable, smiling to your face and sabotaging you in an email 3 weeks later, making everyone around them deeply nervous. And you know the people who strike first, who walk into every room looking for a fight, entirely blind to the invisible stockpile of enemies they are accumulating. They are all failing because they fundamentally misunderstand the nature of the board. They believe that if they are kind, they must be weak, and if they are strong, they must be cruel. They do not realize that cooperation is not a moral virtue, it is a lethal strategy. Niceness without fangs is just bait. But niceness combined with a hair trigger for precise retaliation and a total absence of ego is the most dominant behavioral sequence ever discovered. It allows you to harvest the massive rewards of human trust while bleeding dry anyone arrogant enough to test your boundaries. You do not have to become a sociopath to win the games of power. You just have to become systematic. You have to trade your emotional reactions for mechanical discipline. But understanding this code is completely useless if you are applying it on the wrong board. And right now, despite everything you just learned, you are almost certainly playing the wrong game. To understand the specific code that dominates the board, you have to understand the board itself. And right now, despite everything you just learned, you are almost certainly playing the wrong game. Game theorists divide all human interactions into two fundamental categories: one-shot games and iterated games. The math required to win each of these is completely different, and the single greatest mistake you make, the reason you feel constantly outmaneuvered or overlooked, is that you consistently confuse the two. You walk through life treating your interactions as if they are isolated, disposable events, completely blind to the fact that you are operating inside a closed system with a terrifyingly long memory. In a pure one-shot game, you are negotiating a transaction with a stranger you will absolutely never see again. Imagine buying a souvenir at a roadside stand in a foreign country you will never revisit. In a true vacuum like that, pure mathematics dictates that you should defect. You should lie, manipulate, and extract the absolute maximum value possible. If you leave the merchant furious and insulted, it literally does not matter. There is no tomorrow. There is no consequence. The math supports ruthlessness. The catastrophic problem is that modern society, with its screens, its dating apps, and its remote workplaces, has convinced you that your entire life is that foreign roadside stand. The technology has made you arrogant. It has created the illusion of anonymity, tricking your brain into thinking that the people you deal with are just avatars you can swipe away when they become inconvenient. So, you adapt to this illusion, you cut corners. You match with someone, decide you are not interested, and instead of having a slightly uncomfortable 3-minute conversation, you simply vanish. You ghost them. You send the sarcastic, passive-aggressive email to a vendor because you are having a bad day. You stiff the freelance designer out of a final payment on a technicality. You subtly throw a colleague under the bus to make yourself look 5% better to upper management. In each of these moments, your brain registers a dopamine hit. You avoided friction, you saved a few dollars, you protected your ego, you categorized the interaction as a win because you survived a one-shot game. You think you beat the system because the sky did not immediately fall on your head. This is the dagger turn you need to accept. The sky is not going to fall. It is just going to slowly lower itself until you can no longer stand up straight. Life is not a sequence of one-shot games. It is an infinitely iterated game. The board never resets. When you defect in those supposedly anonymous moments, you are not simply winning a disconnected skirmish. You are bleeding reputation from 1,000 invisible cuts. You are broadcasting a signal into the network about exactly what kind of player you are, and the network always talks. The world is much smaller than your ego wants to believe. The intern you treated like disposable furniture today is going to be the gatekeeper to a major decision-maker you desperately need in 5 years. The vendor you aggressively nickel-and-dimed happens to share a private group chat with the exact clients you are trying to court next quarter. The person you ghosted is the sibling of the angel investor you will eventually pitch. You do not see the opportunities you are losing because the doors are locked from the inside before you even know the building exists. Your resume goes to the bottom of the pile. Your pitches get quietly ignored. Your messages are met with vague delays. You sit there, marinating in resentment, wondering why you have such terrible luck, wondering why the universe refuses to recognize your obvious intelligence. It is not bad luck. It is the mathematical consequence of 100 petty defections coming home to roost. You died on the invisible scoreboard because you could not see past Tuesday. Now look at the people you genuinely envy. Look at the ones who seem to glide through the world, who get the unlisted opportunities, the sudden alliances, the benefit of the doubt in every crisis. From the outside, it looks like extreme privilege, unearned charm, or pure luck. It is none of those things. It is game theory executed with ruthless, compounding discipline. They simply understand the cold, undeniable power of the iterated board. They treat every single interaction, no matter how trivial, as if it will repeat infinitely. They do not do this because they are enlightened saints. They do it because they have run the numbers. They know that trust is the most asymmetric asset in the human economy. These elite players start nice. They mirror defection cleanly, and they forgive instantly, even when no one is supposedly watching. They do not cut corners when they hold the upper hand. They pay the freelancer early. They send the difficult text instead of ghosting. They give the colleague the credit. They are quietly harvesting the returns of 1,000 cooperative moves that no one else had the discipline to make. They understand that cooperation is not a moral virtue. It is a lethal strategy. While the paranoid defectors are exhausting themselves fighting over the scraps of one-shot games, the long-term players are building a gravitational pull so massive that resources naturally flow toward them without friction. To become part of that 1% who understand the game, you have to murder the part of your ego that desperately needs to win the immediate moment. You have to stop reacting to the person standing right in front of you and start playing to the invisible audience that is recording your overarching pattern of behavior. You must adopt the chilling discipline of the infinite game. You build a behavioral algorithm so consistent, so painfully clear, that people feel entirely safe investing their time, their money, and their reputation into you. You let the short-sighted manipulators bleed themselves dry while you silently accumulate the one resource that cannot be stolen or hacked, an unbreakable, compounding reputation. Yet, playing the long game requires more than just mirroring the behavior of the people around you and letting your reputation act as a shield. Baseline cooperation is beautiful, but it is not a complete armor. Eventually, no matter how clean your strategy is, you will encounter a predator. You will sit across the table from someone who refuses to play the long game, someone who tries to corner you, extract from you, or force you into a subordinate position. And when that happens, you cannot rely on mere cooperation. You must know how to force their hand by completely destroying your own escape routes. When baseline cooperation fails, and you find yourself sitting across the board from a predator who refuses to play the long game, you must know how to force their hand by completely destroying your own escape routes. This brings us to one of the most counterintuitive and devastating concepts in all of strategic thinking, the paradox of the burned bridge. The greatest illusion in the realm of power dynamics is the belief that the person with the most flexibility holds the most leverage. We are taught to keep our options open, to play our cards close to the chest, and to leave ourselves an out in case things go wrong. But in a high-stakes confrontation, flexibility is a fatal weakness. If a manipulator knows you have an escape hatch, they know they can pressure you into using it. They know your boundaries are negotiable. To defeat them, you must employ what game theorists call a credible commitment. You win not by becoming stronger, but by publicly, irreversibly tying your own hands. Imagine the classic game of chicken. Two drivers are speeding straight toward each other on a narrow road. The first one to swerve loses. If both drivers are rational, they are both rapidly analyzing the situation, judging distances, and trying to decide at the last possible second whether the other person is crazy enough to actually crash. It is a game of nerve, and it is entirely unpredictable. But suppose one driver takes a wrench, unscrews his own steering wheel, and throws it out the window in full view of the other driver. He has just won the game. By completely destroying his own ability to swerve, he has made his commitment to going straight absolute and undeniable. The other driver is now stripped of all leverage. The psychological battle is over. The only rational choice left for the second driver is to swerve or die. The man who voluntarily removed all of his own options took total control of the board. Now bring this abstract mathematics into the excruciating reality of your own life. Think about the boundaries you have tried to set in the past. Think about the toxic family dynamic that ruins every holiday. You sit down with a narcissistic parent or a controlling sibling, and you tell them, "If you insult my career again, I am leaving this house." In your mind, you have set a boundary. You feel powerful. But the manipulator looks at you and sees right through the theatrical performance. They know you rode there in your partner's car. They know you haven't booked a hotel. They know you care deeply about keeping the peace for the sake of the extended family. They know that your threat is entirely conditional and that actually leaving would require you to make a dozen uncomfortable decisions in the heat of the moment. Your boundary has an escape hatch. It is just a preference wearing a mask. And because they know this, they will inevitably test it. They will drop the insult. You will complain, you will argue, but you will stay. And in that moment, you have taught them that your words are meaningless. To execute the steering wheel maneuver in real life, you must remove the friction of your own retreat before the battle even begins. If you are going to draw a line in the sand with that toxic family member, you do not just make a verbal threat, you rent your own car. You quietly book a non-refundable room at a hotel down the street. You pack your bag and leave it by the door. You tell the host beforehand, "I have arrangements to leave immediately if the disrespect starts." You put the machinery of your departure into motion so that if the boundary is crossed, you do not have to make a decision. The decision is already made. You simply execute the protocol. When the manipulator sees this, when they realize you have engineered a scenario where your own capitulation is physically impossible, their entire calculation shifts. They are forced to behave, not because they respect you, but because you have cornered them with your own rigidity. This same brutal logic governs the professional world. Consider a high-stakes salary negotiation. You have been carrying the weight of 2 departments for 3 years, and your manager has offered you nothing but vague promises about budgets opening up next quarter. Most people approach this by asking for a meeting and saying, "I really need a raise," or "I might have to start looking elsewhere." This is professional suicide. The manager knows the job market is difficult. They know you have a mortgage. They know you are afraid of change. They will smile, offer you another empty promise, and call your bluff. The player who understands the mathematics of power does not ask. They quietly interview for 6 months. They secure a written offer from a competitor. They walk into the manager's office and they do not make a threat. They state a mathematical reality. They say, "I have been offered this position. I have given them my word that I will sign the contract by Friday at 5 p.m. unless my compensation here is adjusted to match. They have initiated a countdown timer that they no longer control. They have tied their own hands to an external deadline. The manager can no longer manipulate the employee's fear because the employee's fear is irrelevant. The mechanism is already locked. Manipulators thrive in ambiguity. They want to negotiate in the shadows of your self-doubt. They rely on your willingness to reconsider, to empathize, to see their side of the story when the pressure mounts. By burning your own bridge, you drag them out of the shadows and into the blinding, sterile light of a binary choice. Yes or no, swerve or crash. You relieve yourself of the anxiety of confrontation because you have outsourced the decision to the trap you built. You realize that cooperation is not a moral virtue. It is a lethal strategy. And when cooperation is rejected, a credible, inescapable commitment is the weapon you draw. This is the psychological mastery that separates the 1% from the victims they leave behind. You transform from someone who reacts to the world into someone who dictates the architecture of the interaction. You strip the predator of their leverage by voluntarily becoming the most inflexible object in the room. You can lock a manipulator into a corner with this kind of flawless, inescapable logic. But if you forget the dark, irrational hardware running inside their brain, they will gladly burn the building down with both of you inside. You can lock a manipulator into a corner with flawless logic, but if you forget the dark, irrational hardware running inside their brain, they will gladly burn the building down with both of you inside. Classical game theory, the kind taught in pristine university classrooms, assumes that humans are perfectly rational calculators. It assumes that if you present someone with a choice that maximizes their personal self-interest, they will always take it. This is the deadliest assumption you can possibly make in the game of power. It creates a false sense of security for people who believe that as long as they hold the legal or financial high ground, they are invincible. But human beings are not spreadsheets. They are volatile, emotional creatures running primitive biological software, and if you press the wrong button, they will eagerly incinerate their own resources just to ensure you go up in flames with them. In 1982, an economist named Werner Guth decided to test the limits of human rationality with a deceptively simple experiment. It became known as the ultimatum game. He placed two strangers in a room. He gave the first player a sum of money, let us say $100, and instructed them to propose a split to the second player. The second player had no ability to negotiate. They had only a single binary choice. They could accept the proposed split, in which case the money was divided exactly as offered, or they could reject the split, in which case the money was confiscated, and both players walked away with absolutely nothing. According to textbook economic theory, the solution to this game is completely straightforward. The rational, calculating move for the first player is to offer the second player a single dollar and keep 99 for themselves. The second player, functioning as a purely logical entity, should accept the $1 because $1 is mathematically superior to $0. That is the cold, logical equilibrium. It makes perfect sense on a whiteboard, but when Guth actually ran the experiment with real human beings, the tidy equations completely shattered. When the first player made an arrogant, insulting offer, say, taking $80 and leaving $20, the second player did not rationally accept the free cash. They rejected it. In the overwhelming majority of cases where the offer was perceived as deeply unfair, the second player chose to walk away with nothing. Let the magnitude of that sink in. They voluntarily paid out of their own pocket, sacrificing their own financial gain solely to inflict pain on the person sitting across the table. This experiment has since been replicated in dozens of countries across radically different cultures, scaling up to stakes that represent several months of local wages. The results never change. The human animal will eagerly accept a devastating personal loss if it means punishing someone who treated them with contempt. This is the economics of spite. It is a terrifying, irrational force that arrogant manipulators, narcissists, and short-sighted operators completely fail to calculate when they are tallying their clever little victories. To understand why people do this, you have to look beneath the psychology and examine the raw neurobiology of unfairness. Neuroeconomists later placed subjects of the ultimatum game inside functional MRI scanners. They wanted to watch the brain light up in real time at the exact moment a lowball, disrespectful offer was placed on the table. The region of the brain that fired the most violently was not the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for high-level logic and rational calculation. It was the anterior insula. This is the precise neurological center that processes physical disgust. It is the primitive alarm system that activates when you smell rotting meat, when you see a corpse, or when you are exposed to a toxic contaminant, when you cheat someone, when you exploit them for a quick advantage, or when you leverage your power to force them into an insulting compromise. They do not just feel intellectually offended by your actions. They feel viscerally, biologically nauseated by you. You trigger a survival mechanism that bypasses their logic entirely. We are a tribal species shaped by 300,000 years of evolutionary pressure in our ancestral environment. Allowing a defector to continuously cheat you without consequence was not just annoying. It was a literal death sentence. We are biologically hardwired to hunt down and punish unfair players, even if that punishment requires mutually assured destruction. When you play the petty manipulator in the modern world, you think you are extracting a clean advantage. You take the credit for a colleague's presentation. You ruthlessly nickel and dime a vendor who is desperate for the contract. You patronize a subordinate to stroke your own ego. You look at the immediate result. You see that you saved $10,000 or secured the promotion, and you feel like a tactical genius. But what you have actually done is manufacture a sleeper agent of spite. You have planted an invisible landmine in your own future. Think about the catastrophic corporate sabotage that happens every day. An executive decides to shortchange an engineer on his promised year-end bonus. The executive saves the department a fraction of the budget and congratulates himself on his firm leadership. 3 months later, that same engineer quietly deletes a critical database or leaks a confidential algorithm to a key competitor, wiping hundreds of millions of dollars off the company's valuation. Think about the bitter, scorched earth romantic divorce, where a spouse will happily spend $200,000 in unrecoverable legal fees just to deny their ex-partner a $50,000 asset. The math makes no sense to a pure economist, but it makes absolute sense to an evolutionary biologist. This is why the relentless pursuit of the one-shot advantage is a suicidal long-term strategy. You cannot simply outmaneuver people, exploit their weaknesses, and then expect them to gracefully accept their defeat and move on. Every time you cross a moral threshold to extract a cheap win, you are accumulating hidden enemies. These people will not necessarily strike back immediately. They will smile, they will nod, and they will nurse that neurological disgust for years in the dark. They will wait until you are exposed, until you are reaching for a critical promotion or trying to close a vital deal, and then they will gladly set fire to their own house just to watch yours burn to the ground. True power is not about seeing how much you can extract from the world before someone stops you. It is about understanding that petty exploitation is fundamentally too expensive. You play the board cleanly not because you are terrified of bad karma, and not because you are trying to be a good person. You play the board cleanly because accumulating a massive stockpile of vengeful, irrational human explosives is a catastrophic strategic error. The cold, calculating move is to ensure that you never trigger the anterior insula of the people around you. You now possess the complete architecture of human leverage. The final step is stepping out of the theory and walking onto the board. You now possess the complete architecture of human leverage. You understand the quiet devastation of the Nash trap, the mathematical perfection of mirrored retaliation, the inescapable gravity of the burned bridge, and the volatile, biological reality of human spite. You hold the blueprint that dictates why empires rise and why relationships rot, but possessing the blueprint is not the same as constructing the building. The theory only protects you if you have the nerve to execute it under pressure. The final step is stepping out of the theoretical shadows, suppressing your own ego, and walking onto the actual board. Look around you tomorrow, and you will see the entire tragedy of human interaction playing out in real time. You will see the spineless people-pleaser, the office martyr who smiles nervously while their boundaries are trampled, quietly absorbing every insult. They live in a constant state of anxiety, praying that their submission will eventually be rewarded with respect. It will not. You will see the bitter retaliator, the person who hoards minor grievances like precious currency. They turn every petty disagreement into a scorched earth campaign, completely unaware that their endless desire to prove they are right is slowly building a permanent prison of social isolation. And you will see the short-sighted opportunist, the arrogant mid-level manipulator who thinks they are an absolute genius for extracting a few extra dollars from a vendor or a fleeting ego boost from a subordinate. They are entirely oblivious to the ticking time bombs of resentment they leave in their wake. Every single one of these people is playing a different variation of a losing game. They are blinded by their own egos, their insecurities, and their absolute inability to see beyond the current transaction. They are reacting to the noise. They measure their power by how loud they can shout, how much they can endure, or how quickly they can strike. Contrast them with the lethal, quiet operator. The operator walks into the exact same room, sits at the exact same table, but sees a completely different dimension. They know that every word, every silence, and every concession is being recorded on an infinite ledger. They understand the core truth we have been circling this entire time. Cooperation is not a moral virtue, it is a lethal strategy. The operator actively suppresses the desperate, noisy urge of the human ego to win the immediate moment. They do not need to have the last word in a heated meeting. They do not need to prove they are the smartest person at the dinner table. They do not need to humiliate a rival just to feel a transient rush of dopamine. They let the paranoid players exhaust themselves swinging at ghosts, while they calmly secure the underlying structure of the board. To execute this, you must become terrifyingly disciplined. This is where the philosophy becomes a daily, physical practice. Tomorrow, when you sit down at your desk, when you open your phone, when you walk into your living room, you open with a clean slate. You extend the handshake. You cooperate first. You offer the benefit of the doubt. You let the other side think you are soft. You let them believe they are dealing with someone naive. But the millisecond they mistake your professional courtesy for weakness, the exact fraction of a second they cross the line and attempt to exploit your open hand. You do not complain. You do not write a dramatic emotional email detailing your feelings. You do not issue an empty ultimatum. You mirror the defection instantly, proportionally, and without a single trace of anger. You bleed the paranoid dry with cold, mechanical precision. You show them the absolute limit of their power. And then, when they finally correct their behavior, and they will, because your boundaries have become an unmovable wall, you do the hardest thing of all. You drop the grudge immediately. You forgive the instant they return to the table. You return to baseline cooperation. You make peace highly profitable and hostility absolutely exhausting. You become the most predictable, reliable, and dangerous person in their network. You train them to treat you with respect, not by demanding it, but by engineering a reality where disrespect carries an immediate, unbearable cost. This is the heaviest burden of the long game. It requires a surgical detachment that will feel completely unnatural to your nervous system at first. When someone slights you, your pulse will race. Your pride will scream at you to strike first, to launch a disproportionate counterattack, to secure a cheap, dirty victory just to feel powerful for 5 minutes. You have to learn to observe that feeling, acknowledge it, and then ruthlessly crush it under the weight of your long-term objective. It will feel like swallowing glass, but that is the price of admission. The winner of the tournament is not the one who scores the most points in a single, isolated round. The winner is the one who survives thousands of rounds with their reputation, their leverage, and their sanity completely intact. Tomorrow morning, the board resets. You are going to step out your front door, and someone is going to test you. A manager will demand too much. A partner will make a passive-aggressive comment. A stranger will try to cut a corner at your expense. In the past, you would have either swallowed it in terrified silence or exploded in a reactive frenzy. You would have let them dictate your emotional state. Not anymore. Tomorrow, you are going to look at them, recognize exactly which primitive game they are trying to play, and you are going to silently decline the invitation. You will hold your ground, not with frantic shouting, but with the cold, immovable gravity of someone who has already run the numbers. You will let them flail against your architecture until they realize they are fighting the math of reality itself. The algorithms that govern the platforms you scroll every day are designed to keep you addicted, emotional, and highly reactive. They do not want you operating with cold, mechanical precision, because a precise mind cannot be easily manipulated. They want you lost in the noise. If you are ready to stop being played and start designing the board yourself, click the link in the description to join the Velvet Dagger Underground. We dissect the unspoken rules of power, entirely uncensored and unmonetized, for the 1% who are ready to see reality exactly as it is. Step out of the trap.